Oi, git! Clear your ears and I'll say it again. We's is orcs, and yous ain't a proper orc without a proper enemy. Gazgul wants us to fight. And yeah, we's is going to fight humans, but not just any humans, but beakies. And we're even going to old Baeli's stomping grounds. So quit mucking about. Grab your shooter, grab your chopper, and grab your favourite grot, cause we's is going to the war world. We's is going to Armageddon.
Welcome to Days of Lore. Do you want to be a part of Days of Lore? If you have a Warhammer 40,000 miniature that you want to show off to other people, send it to us through email, Instagram, or Discord, and we will use your minis and our video uploads. We want our listeners and viewers to be able to see what we are discussing, so if you want to help out or be featured as our mini of the week, send us pictures of your painted figures.
On today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the Orks, how they work, their specialities, and their ambitions to keep the galaxy in a constant state of conflict.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Days of Lore. I am Ian, joined by Asher and Alex.
Hello.
How's it going?
Asher, what do you know about orcs?
I know that we should probably still take a moment of silence after last week's episode, because I think I'm still mourning.
Rest in peace, old Baeli, the old man of Armageddon, Commissar Yarrick.
But to answer your question, I know that they're incredibly psychically strong, and that they have a thing with colors. They paint things certain colors to make them do certain things. The specifics are gone on me, but other than that, I know that they're a rather interesting faction.
Yeah. Alex, what do you personally know about orcs?
I know that they are very much kind of in 40K, the comic relief. They tend to be more comedic in the way that they do their types of wars, their battles. So they're a lot more like loose when it comes to. They're not as serious, really. But that doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. They're actually really dangerous.
Right. There's actually a quote in the Armageddon book that we are discussing from an Inquisitor that says, "Don't get me wrong, orcs are brutish creatures, but to underestimate them is a mistake." Because they're very ingenious. Orcs, they're interesting. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the different groups. They're called orc clans, and some of the different subcultures, just to give people an introduction onto the deeper level of knowledge of orcs, because everybody knows they're green and they're mean, but they've got some other attributes. So there are a few different orc clans that orcs are a part of. The most popular one is the Goths. So if you've ever seen an orc model with black and white checkerboard patterns on it, that's these guys. They are the melee specialists. They're usually bigger, and there's a whole lot more of them. Probably one of my favorites, though, is the Death Skulls. These are orcs that like to paint their armor and their trucks and their skin blue, and they are lucky more often than not. So blue is seen as a lucky color for orcs. They like to loot, and they like to steal stuff, and a lot of Death Skulls are mechs, like mechanics. They can fix things, or just have an easier time of ripping things apart. Alex, do you want to do Bad Moons and Evil Sons?
So Bad Moons are the richest orcs. Orcs go by a currency of teeth. They call them teef, T-E-E-F. Bad Moons are like the ones who care more about being rich. So they're like merchants. Their teeth grow a lot faster than other orcs, which means that they technically are more wealthy because they can grow their teeth back faster and they can sell teeth for items. The next one is Evil Sons. They like vehicles that go fast and love making noise. A lot of what they call speed freaks. So like bikers and fast vehicles and a lot of that kind of just go fast speed.
The I-40 residents.
Yes. The next two clans are the Blood Axes and the Snakebites. Blood Axes are the least liked orc clan by other orcs because they actually use thinking and camouflage and tactics to defeat their enemies, which a lot of orcs don't respect because orcs are all about, fighting face to face. Blowing up your enemy from a mile away is not an orky thing to do, so they don't like the Blood Axes. You can always tell a Blood Axe because they like to wear, or they will usually wear, human gear. So if you ever see an orc with like a cap on, like a human cap, that's a Blood Axe, and they're sneaky. And then the Snakebites, these are your traditionalist orcs. They really don't like technology past swords and spears and shields. So they usually wear furs, and they're a little more, say, barbaric versions of orcs. There are also different subcultures of orcs, and there are tons of these, but we're only going to talk about a few of them. First, I want to mention freebooters. We have already mentioned these in our Maelstrom episode. These are orc mercenaries. They will actually hire their services out to other species or other orcs, but they don't have a particular war boss. Then, most famously, what we're going to talk about today is the Cult of Speed, also known as the Speed Freaks. These are orcs that, for some reason, have gone crazy for going fast. And that's all they want to do. Just go fast all the time. If you stop, you've lost. Next are the Beast Snaggas. These boys love squigs and beasts and are usually falling into the orc clans of the Snakebites because they're more traditional. And then, because we mentioned them, squigs. Squigs are little, like, pig creatures that the orcs have, but these are dangerous pigs. They have 2 legs, they're usually red, and they have massive teeth. Like, think a 2-legged pig with a shark head. That is a squig, but squigs come in all different shapes and sizes. There can be things called squigoths, which are gigantic, think brontosaurus-sized squigs that they will turn into war elephants. So those are massive things. But then, famously, there's a funny story that orcs, they don't have hair. By the way, Asher, do you know that orcs are mushrooms? Like, they're a fungus?
After you had asked me what I knew, there have been some other like lore episodes that I've either listened to or watched, and I was gonna say that was one of the things that I remembered, that they can grow so fast because they're essentially like spores. They're like, yeah, like you said, like it's a fungus.
Right. And everything in orc society is provided by the orc ecosystem. So the fungus that hasn't already grown into an orc might be turned into a beer that they brew. And then, like, the vehicles are pulled by squigs, and then clothes are made out of squigs. But if an orc wants to have a beard, any hair that you see on an orc is actually a tiny squig latched to his face.
Okay, like very, very tiny.
Very, very tiny. If you actually look at the new orc models from the Armageddon box that came out, all the orcs that have a little top knot head hairpiece, you can see on the base of the hair are 4 little teeth of the latch of the squig, like leeching onto the head of the orc. Underneath all of these cultures are the grots. Grots, think goblins. These are shorter, lanky, very weak creatures that are a slave class to the orcs. And while most of them are like sniveling little runts, and none of them are very smart, like none of the orcs are very smart, none of the grots are very smart, but grots usually really aren't that cunning either. But they're the helpers. They do all the odd jobs. They They have long fingers that can help out fixing things. They are usually bringing drinks. Or, if an orc gets hungry, he'll eat a grot. You live and you learn. But something that has kind of changed recently is grots have really always been seen as like these whimpering cowards, but they are slowly starting to come back into the limelight of how they were in the 80s and 90s of being more like sidekicks to the orcs. Now, they're still slave classes, but especially later we're going to talk about a grot who is more of that sidekick role and is just as mean as his orc boss.
I think now, like, I know on the tabletop they actually like have like better ballistic skill, I think.
Yeah, they're better shooters.
They're better shooters. They're kind of like implying that they're technically smarter.
Yeah, sometimes a grot will outsmart some orcs. The only thing is, the best laid plans for a grot are inconsequential to the just brutality of an orc who may not even be falling into a trap. He'll just be like, get out of my way, and stomp the grot. Asher, it's time for the main event. The main orc that we're going to talk about today. The warlord of warlords. The big green. The prophet of Dawa. Gazgul.
This guy again.
Yeah, we mentioned him last week, but we saved him for this episode. Now I'm going to give you a bit of a history on him. Gazgul Mag Uruk Thraka lived his early life as a lowly goth boy on a backwater world called Urk. But dark angels invaded the world, and a bolt around blew open his cranium. And as he was laying there dying, a metal plate was fixed into his skull by the Mad Doc Grotsnik. And for some reason, this metal plate has plagued Gazgul by visions from Gork and Mork, the orc gods. Gaz slowly rose to the rank of warlord, and his strength grew and grew. His visions eventually led him to the world of Armageddon. Twice, as we've discussed. The visions have also led him away to other locations. The visions that he was having were for a great Wah across the galaxy. Wah is the orcoid word for a crusade, or just a giant battle. And Gaz wishes to plunge all of the galaxy into never-ending conflict, because the best thing for an orc is a good fight. Eventually, Gazgul earned the title the Warlord of Warlords. And with leading so many orcs, he eventually ran into the problem of being too big. He could point his Wah in the direction of a system, and he wouldn't really invade it, he would just steamroll it. And that's not really a good fight for orcs. Plus, it's hard to plan with such a large force. You don't know what these orcs are doing over here. You don't know what those orcs are doing over here, light years away. So, Gazgul once again set his eyes for Armageddon, a place that he could light as a beacon for war. Then, he wouldn't have to chase after his enemies. They would come to him from light years away. And orcs knew about the planet and would love nothing more than fighting on the war world, and the Imperium would have no choice but to pool more of their strength and resources in the defense of the planet. Now, Gazgul needed to be careful. He did have one attribute that was not common among orcs: the ability to learn from his past mistakes. He couldn't just invade Armageddon. That had been tried before, and every time, Imperium censors saw him coming and had time to prepare. Plus, he didn't want to steamroll the planet, so he's got to find that sweet spot of not letting the humans be too strong, while also not being too strong himself. He wanted just enough orcs on the planet for the Imperium to have time to commit reinforcements, but not be completely wiped out. He wants a never-ending cycle of war on Armageddon that will eventually grow and grow into a bonfire that engulfs the galaxy.
It led to his decision to, chuck a moon at it.
Yeah, see, that one was just, he was just goofing. He had a bad loss in the last fight.
Miss input.
Door stuck.
You can't just be the warlord. Gazgul is the warlord of warlords. So What are some of these other warlords?
One of his longest serving friends is Boss Snickrot, a Nork commando on Armageddon. He has 2 long knives called Mork's Teeth and loves cutting throats. He loves sneaking around and has made himself quite the annoyance in Armageddon's equatorial jungle. He thrives in guerrilla and psychological warfare. His Red Skull commandos have destroyed ammo dumps with explosives and used the distractions to sneak into command bunkers and kill all the officers within. Sometimes he'll leave Armageddon to do some recruiting. His personal mobile headquarters is a Corvus Black Star that he stole after he killed some Deathwatch operatives. Now that Gazgul is planning to go back to Armageddon, Snickrot pledges all of his resources are at the Grand Warlord's disposal. Another prize.
Yeah.
Also, stealing a Corvus Black Star is not easy.
Right.
Yeah. Honey, did we get the right Tarzan movie?
Boss Snickrot doesn't mess around.
Another prized boss boy is Orkamedes, who may or may not be multiple orc Big Mechs. Yes, his name is Orkamedes. Orkamedes is a mastermind of orc technology. During the Third War for Armageddon, they were able to teleport gargants and huge super heavy submersibles. Deathwatch kill teams are on the hunt for Orkamedes, but have had no success yet. The latest invention that Orkamedes has cooked up is a device called the Mega Teleshaka.
That sounds ominous.
Let me tell you about the Teleshaka. Well, okay, first, orcs have some technology called shaka, like shock attack guns, and they literally just open a tunnel in reality, and they spin really fast.
The best part about that weapon is that it literally just takes things, anything, shoots it through a tube, and just, it doesn't shoot it. It teleports it to wherever the orc is pointing, meaning he could take like a grot and teleport it into your chest to kill you.
The Mega Teleshaka, in case you can't grasp from the words, this is just a giant shaka gun. Is what the orcs have invented. Is just a gigantic shaka attack gun. It is an.
Is this the thing that's throwing the moons?
No, the thing that's throwing the moons is they will literally just strap rocket boosters onto asteroids and blast them into Armageddon's surface.
You think they're smart enough to teleport in moons? No, they just put rockets on it and then fire it at other planets.
Why don't we just take the moon and put it over there?
Well, so the Mega Teleshaka is an enormous teleportation device which is formed from 10 modified kill cruisers, which are orc battleships that are laden with teleporter arrays. And when you put them all together, it is capable of aiming a shock attack tunnel over interstellar distances. And Gazgul learned that teleportation worked during the Third War of Armageddon when, as Alex mentioned, he was able to teleport entire war bands of orcs and gargants to surprise his enemies. So if you can teleport a Titan, well, then the next big step is just a whole ship. With this knowledge, Gaz and his big mechs started working on the Mega Teleshaka, and early prototypes were not successful. A test run on the planet of Sawinden was a disaster. And although for the orcs it was funny seeing countless humans turned inside out instantly by the misfire of the teleporter, a lot of useful mechs and a lot of loot were lost. The next field test on Ikaria saw Gazgul finally able to kill old Baali, Yarick himself, but that was just a coincidence, and it was outshined by the teleporter almost killing Gazgul by breaking the planet apart. It was the war boss Nazdreg who finally figured out, instead of making a stationary teleportation device, why not create 10 cruisers befitted with all the technology that a shock attack gun has, and put it in space. This allows for the teleporter to be transported, and for it not to be all in one place at one time should any attacks target it. With the successful invasion of the Sligo system, Gazgul knew it was ready. There were some side effects to it. On one test, the planet Altaxia's third moon just disappeared. The Ramillies-class star fort, Obdurate Guardian, disappeared. And, as we'll talk about later, when Gazgul finally points the teleporter towards Armageddon, when he launches his fleets, one of Armageddon's planets vanished.
I think this is my favorite part about the Teleshaka.
Yeah, now which planet it was, we don't know, but there's an exchange of mass happening, but we don't know where these things are ending up.
Oh, so it's basically it's sending them to there, then taking something away from whatever was there.
Yes, except we don't know where the other thing is ending up. The boss boy that added his insight to teleporter technology is Nasdrag Ug Erdgrub. That is his name. He is a very inventive bad moon who loves his riches. One day, he had an unfortunate mishap with his teleporter while he was fighting the Tau. This mishap landed him pretty much in the lap of Gazgul, covered in ectoplasm and other Orks' blood. But despite this setback, Gaz invited Nasdrag into his inner circle, because Gazgul thought of Nasdrag as a gift from Gork and Mork themselves. And Nasdrag is more than happy to fight for Gazgul and stay alive, and is currently attacking the mining world of Simtexia in Gazgul's name, and Nasdrag is particularly interested in claiming a warlord titan to serve as his mobile throne room. Because, you gotta be big. Another boss boy that's actually also on Armageddon already is Ugrak Glitztooth. He is a bad moon big mech and the ruler of Hive Tempestora in Armageddon Prime. He is very unpredictable and very violent. On a random day, he might just get mad at somebody and force them to be wired into a death dread or, thrown to the pain boys for experimentation. A lot of rivals have challenged him for rule of Tempestora, but they usually just end up as new wall decorations on the outside of the Hive City. With Gazgul's new plans for invading Armageddon, Ugrak sees it as an opportunity to break out of the Morpheon line that surrounds Hive Tempestora and expand his dominion.
Yeah, I was about to say this is the hive that the Imperium lost and then walked outside and then built a wall outside of it and trenches to keep them inside instead of keeping them out.
Yes, and so this is the warlord that is ruling Hive Tempestora. The most important boss boy we're going to talk about today has got to be Wazdaka Gutsmek. Alex, take it away.
All right. So, Wazdaka Gutsmek began his life as a mech boy in the Evil Sun's clan before he was seduced by the Cult of Speed. His fast rampages around bases made everyone around him mad. He even ran over his war boss's favorite squig. But it was during the race of the Burning Wheels that Wazdaka finally made everybody mad at him, and they accused him of cheating. Because of this, he went into a self-imposed exile and a rampage, destroying his war boss's battle wagons and riding off into the sunset, looking for more adventures and a better racetrack. Thus began Wazdaka's Speedwa. His continued race throughout the stars has gained him quite a following. Even though he's a pretty solitary guy himself, he likes having the company. He thinks it makes the races even better.
That felt like such a fever dream listening to that.
It gets a whole lot worse.
It gets, yeah.
This is a wild guy.
Like, it just sounds like almost like high school, middle school, like accused him of cheating and he just went on his own.
Wazdaka has rarely ever left the saddle of his war bike called Big Reva. This is a hot rod of all hot rods, rigged up with a supercharged squig oil injection turbo engine and a snazzy bit of technology. A throttle rocket shaka, which is able to hurl his bike and himself through tunnels in the fabric of reality, allowing him to get around inconvenient obstacles and continue wherever he wants to go at speed.
He's basically got a DeLorean.
Yeah.
And he's just like bebopping all over the place.
He has
dude, they just released this model not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. there's this movie I highly suggest if you haven't seen it already. It's an anime movie called Redline, and the main character, it's like futuristic racing, but the main character just drives a Trans Am, and it's awesome. It's basically this.
And yeah, he has a big red button on the console of his war bike that when he hits it, it activates this shock attack gun that just teleports his bike wherever he wants to go.
That sounds awesome. And I love that it's what is it? You said squig oil injected?
Squig oil injection turbo engine.
Wonderful.
So, as for his weapons, his bike is equipped with a shooter known as a Psycho Gatler, which fires armor-piercing bullets and rocket-propelled grenades. The bike used to be equipped with a battle cannon, but every time he shot it, it flipped his bike end over end. As for Wazdaka himself, he has a snagga claw known as the Grabba Draga. It's basically just a grappling hook that he can fire from his arm to grab enemies out of their seats of their vehicles and drag them behind his bike. He even uses it to help him make tight corner turns by grappling onto buildings. He is accompanied by Fix-It de Grot. Not the Grot, Fix-It de Grot, who is a loyal oiler and fixer for his bike. Surprisingly, Fix-It is very survivable, and he's done this in two ways. One, he's very useful. He knows every in and out, every fault, and every strength that Big Reva has. He can make repairs before Wazdaka even knows about it. He knows the perfect mix of squig oil to promethium to keep Big Reva running smoothly and at peak efficiency. Because he's so useful, whenever Wazdaka is really angry, he always looks for different targets than Fix-It. Secondly, when the fighting does start, Fix-It knows exactly how to maneuver inside the superstructure of Big Reva. He knows which nooks and crannies to hide in when the bullets start flying, and he knows when to jump out when Wazdaka is about to make a, quote, heroic landing. Wazdaka's Speedwall took a winding route through Imperium Sanctus. The Speedwall's first contact with the Imperium occurred on the agri-world of Pyridon Alpha. No one knows exactly how the Orks made it onto the planet, and that's a common occurrence with Wazdaka. He's able to move planet to planet without ships, but he landed on his agri-world and quickly overran the planetary defense force. Space Marines from the Stormlords chapter rushed in to protect the crucial world, but the Speedwall turned entire seasons worth of produce into mud, and the atmosphere was polluted beyond salvation by the engines of the Ork machines. The Orks were eventually driven off and made their way to Skalax 6, a Mechanicus forge world. Wazdaka's most impressive kill has to be during the siege of Skalax 6. It was here that the Speedwall hit its first great obstacle, in the form of an entire maniple of Adeptus Mechanicus Guittari, lances of Imperial Knights, and a Warlord Titan. Massive casualties were inflicted on the Orks, but Wazdaka found a way to drive up through a hab block and launched his bike off a building towards the Titan's command bridge through the void shields, which in turn sent him and his war bike ablaze. He came in like a comet and crashed through the canopy and slaughtered the entire bridge crew. Ever since this moment, Wazdaka has carried the skull of the Titan's princeps and Motorati on the back of Big Reva as a reminder of his most impressive kill.
That sounds insane.
Yeah, he is. You think like Orks in general are like just kind of crazy. Like this guy is like the epitome of Ork insanity.
Like the Tony Hawk of just
He's
all the
awesome.
sick tricks.
The Speedwall took over the Forge World and left it in the hands of Evil Sun's mech boys, who continue to this day to strip down, rebuild, and invent even faster vehicles for Wazdaka. His next move was against a fellow Ork in the Calverna system. Here he fought the Archmaniac of Calverna, a Death Skull's warlord. Wazdaka's high-speed combat melted through dread mobs, ran rings around Ludas, and performed wheelies around flaming wreckage of blitz brigades. A few of the orcs on Calverna even switched sides and started following Wazdaka. Slowly, the momentum of the battle turned in Wazdaka's favor, and the Archmaniac retreated to his bastion on Magnus Majoris. Since Wazdaka obviously isn't interested in a siege, he just ran off to another planet in search of a more mobile fight. The first thing to truly stop the speed wall was Gork's Grin, which is the orc word for the Scissatrix Maledictum, or the Great Rift. Every time that Wazdaka tried to enter into the Great Rift, it just spat him back out into the Imperium Sanctus, which Imperium Sanctus is the side that Terra's on. Frustrated, he turned west and continued his rage against the planets he could reach. Eventually, it led him to a ghost world called Povinor, which was once swallowed by the Great Rift and spat out. Here, the followers of Slaanesh and Khorne were engaged in battle. The Orks joined in the scrap as squadrons of Orc scrap jets battled against Chaos Space Marine interceptors and winged monstrosities. Wazdaka himself became occupied in the pursuit of a squad of Chaos Space Marine bikers. He followed them into a winding canyon and picked off his opponents individually with his Grab-a-Draga until only their leader remained, an odd Space Marine surrounded by warp fire. This was the first foe to ever outpace Wazdaka. The orc took a shortcut through a hidden cave and was about to cut off his prey. Right as he launched his Grab-a-Draga towards the target, he caught a glimpse of a pallid face with distorted features twisted into a grin. And all of a sudden, the burning rider was gone, disappearing into a cloud of exhaust fumes.
All right, so who is this guy?
This is the Doom Rider.
The Doom Rider?
Yes.
The Doom Rider.
Okay. So is this an image you guys have of here?
Yeah. So when I was doing the research on Wazdaka from the White Dwarf magazine 524, it tells the story of like the history of Wazdaka, and it mentions, like, as I typed, a pallid phase with distorted features riding a bike, and I was like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. It's gotta be this guy. And it's an old model, an old Emperor's Children model called the Doom Rider.
That's insane.
So-
That looks awesome.
I hope that he comes back because it'd be so cool. But Doom Rider, funnily enough, is actually not an Emperor's Children model. It's a chaos demon.
Yeah, he's a demon lord, right?
He's a demon lord, and in fact, the whole demon may even just be like the bike is the demon. Like everything about it's the demon. Like it's not like, oh yeah, there's a bike and then the demon rides it. No, like the bike is a part of the demon.
The whole thing is just the manifestation.
Pretty much.
Nobody knows
it's
where
really
it came
interesting.
from.
It looks awesome. And I love
Yeah.
that this is like, his arch nemesis, essentially, where he's like, yeah, this is the only guy that's going to go faster than me, but I'm going to cut him off and it's going to be just fine. And then just, nope, gone.
If the EC could get Doom Rider, that would be awesome. So, continuing on his path and dealing with some attacks by Drukhari raiders, his fleet eventually emerged from the warp around the Exodite world of Magnea. Here, Wazdaka's beast snagga boys hunted after Exodite dinosaurs. They focused on one particularly fast creature they called the Zagfang. Being the fastest, of course, and not to be outdone, Wazdaka tripped the beast with his Grab-a-Draga and mounted its skull in the handlebars of the big Reva.
And that is the skull on his handlebars on his model.
He's really getting the decorations on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Wazdaka is a war boss. Abe's going to be leading this great speed wall. They needed some lower lieutenants to help him convey orders. Now, it's very hard for speed freaks to give out orders, and especially if your war boss is Wazdaka, who doesn't really like to give orders. Battles are impossibly loud, and so that requires special shouting boxes, signal rockets, the flailing of arms, and even crude skywriting to get across the most basic commands. Usually the orders are just making sure that the speed wall is going in the right direction.
I love that bit because it's mentioned in the book and in the White Dwarf. It's like, yeah, we're going to send up a jet fighter just to write some words in the sky or just draw a giant arrow.
Yeah.
Like those fish in Nemo where they spell out, or like they make all the shapes and there's the arrow pointing
Yeah.
Marlin. It's like this way. It's like
So
as long as everyone's going the right direction, it's all right.
before we talk about before I get into his war bosses, what do you think of Wazdaka Gutsmack, Asher?
So you were right. It did get more interesting after it's started out. I think I don't know. The orcs are growing on me. Like I said, I don't know a lot about, the other factions, and as we dig into all of them, the amount of story that they all have is just great, and I'm really loving it. I love just the idea of this. Just he's on like a trike, I think it is, right? And he's just riding around everywhere.
My favorite part about his model is that Fix It is on there, and he's like using a wrench on one of the bolts to hold on for dear life as Wazdaka is making a huge jump. But his war bosses, Wazdaka is not going to have a war boss if they don't contribute to him going faster and farther. His first war boss is Speed Boss Grissnag, who is a defector of the Archmaniac of Calverna. He is a Death Skulls speed boss with a specialty for trucks. And even though all orcs know that red ones go faster, Grissnag's blue-painted vehicles are usually at the front of the battle if they know that there's going to be valuable loot. All of his battle wagons have wrecking balls, grabbing cranes, cutting torches, and even some have fully functional mech workshops on them, and they usually trail in battles to pick up the scrap metal remnants of destroyed vehicles, orc or not, because Death Skulls love their loot. Next up is Boss Zotsnik, leader of Dashakas, which is a huge warband of war buggies that are mainly made up of shock jump dragstas. And these all have interdimensional travel and snazzy weapons. Their battle wagons, their buggies, their planes all have shock attack guns and shock boosters. So that means that all of these things are just teleporting all over the place. And they have other war gear that just bends reality. Almost anybody attacked by Dashakas are caught by surprise because you see the clouds of them over the horizon, and before you can even raise your binoculars, they're meters away from you, guns blazing.
What is it? The clip from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Just-
Ha-ha!
the timpani's just, and you can see him, and then all of a sudden he's there. I love that with the shakas being the mega tele shaka being a massive one, that there's just a big group using them going all over the place.
Third, we have Gorgot Dockfist, leader of the Steel Eds. Heads, but Eds. E-A-D-Z.
It's because of the accent.
Yeah. The Steel Eds, warband leader, who combines speed with firepower. His red battle wagons are filled to the brim with guns. Every inch of them is taken up with firing ports and gun loops. They literally look like battleships attached to tracks. Like, think pirate battleships. His personal battle wagon, a bone breaker named Iron Beast, Dackfist waves a cutlass as he lines up broadsides against his enemies and crushes his enemies with his buggy's def rolla. He's literally a pirate.
This is just like, was it more? I think Mortal Engines, is that the one with the
Yeah.
cities on the tracks? It just, and there was all the cannons and stuff.
Yeah, that's him.
Orcs, I love orcs because you would think, oh, like they're pirates, like space pirates or whatever. It's like, no, they're just pirates. Like they dress up like pirates, like 1,400 pirates.
Alex, you talked about this earlier. They are such like the comedic relief of the universe because they do so many just funny things and have funny habits, but they are like a serious problem. Like they're very strong, they're very efficient somehow in getting stuff done.
They are just it's like, so the funny part too is because Warhammer's kind of written from an Imperium like point of view. The Orks, I think, are the only time where it kind of breaks that mold, and you see Orks from like the Orc point of view. But from an Imperium point of view, seeing an Orc wall is basically just it's game over. Like they're unrelenting. They will never retreat. They will kill and kill and kill until they're dead. And you basically just have to sit there and just fight off hordes against hordes of these things that just will not tire. So they're very much a unforgiving enemy.
Yeah.
But
I think sometimes the scale is hard to think about. With obviously everything in the 40K universe is trying to kill you, and the scale of the ships and the scales of the battles are massive. But then looking at the scale, like you said, when I'm thinking about orcs, it's like, oh well, Space Marines are a decent match. They battle each other, and there's wins and losses and stuff. But then when you just look at a general populace that is under attack by a Wa, you know, they'll just get steamrolled.
like they're not going for like resources or to get an advantage. They are literally just going to kill people. Like, and they're not going to kill people because they enjoy killing people. They're going there because they want to fight. That's why sometimes orcs, like Ian talked about Gazgul, like doesn't want to just completely take over Armageddon because that would be boring. That's not fun.
It's too easy.
It's too easy. So they're always looking for battles. So if they can find a battle that's tough, they will continue to fight till the very end, because they want the best fight. But from the Imperial's point of view, that's an unrelenting enemy
Yeah.
that has no remorse, no like forgiveness, and just wants you dead.
The last war boss that we have for Wazdaka is Dorak Can Krumpa, who used to be in service to the Archfiend of Octarius. He and his Bad Moons warband concern themselves with fueling the Speedwa, and they make a healthy profit too, because they're Bad Moons. They love teeth. And Can Krumpa? He is the primary hoarder and supplier of promethium and squig oil, and his mechs drive all the tankers to supply the fuel. It's basically Mad Max. Like, they have that giant fuel tanker that is going as everybody else around them is fighting. So they will supply the fuel in battle and on the move. And it's interesting that a group usually as oblivious and brutal as the Orks still concerns themselves with logistics.
Yeah, they seem to be all over the place, but they have it down to make sure they have enough fuel to get somewhere.
It's funny because a lot of the tankers, obviously these are Orks, they love fighting. So a lot of these tankers have like huge artillery pieces on the top of them. And you're like, hey, won't that like set off the fuel? But they obviously haven't thought about that. Or if they have, they don't care.
They just overlook it. It can't happen, right? Because if they don't think about it, it wouldn't happen.
Right. And if it does happen, they won't know because they'll be dead. Some fun facts about Wazdaka Gutsmech is he was first ever mentioned in the Codex Orks in 1994, but he just got his model this year. So that's...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's existed for 32 years without a model. He later showed up again in the 4th edition Codex where we finally got to see him. And Asher, I've shown you this art of him speeding along black and white with the 3 flaming skulls of the Titan pilots on the back of his bike. Well, whether he knew about it or not, Wazdaka's Speedwa eventually led him to Golgotha, the home base of Gazgul. And it was here that Wazdaka saw the Mega Teleshaka and was excited to use it to finally send him across the Great Rift and the Cicatrix Maledictum so that he could finally race across the dark side of the galaxy. But Gazgul saw the use of a speed freak, and he agreed to let Wazdaka use the Teleshaka so long as his first target was Armageddon, a place with flat sands, perfect for a racetrack. And Wazdaka was only too eager to accept. He and his speed freaks zoomed through the mega teleshaka and couldn't even wait for their landers to take them to the surface. Before the ramps were opened, Wazdaka was revving his engine and spewing flames from his exhaust as he hurtled towards the ash wastes of Armageddon Prime, hitting that big red button and surrounding him with green lightning as his shaka went off. Behind them was Gazgul and his great Wah. The fourth war for Armageddon has begun. So, Asher, what did you think of our episode over the Orks?
It was very eye-opening, I think. I'm digging Wazdaka. I think it's the fact that they just have a hierarchy and that they are that comedic relief is so interesting. It all just like plays a part. And that, there is so much chaos going on within the Orks, but they all just kind of work together, and then they somehow are doing, massive invasions and succeeding to some extent.
But yeah, that's Orks. If they put their mind to something, it works. And if it doesn't, they don't care.
If it doesn't, then why were they even trying in the first place? I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, like it only works because they really do want it to work.
Yeah.
I also love it's because of their accent, but I just love the way all of these things are spelled.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole Cockney accent and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Orkimedes.
Orkimedes is good. You want to know the best name for a orc vehicle is?
What is it, Alex?
Hold on, give me like 1 second. I'm trying to remember. It's a really
Is
really
it
ridiculous
the
name.
Boomdaka Snazwagon?
Boomdaka Snazwagon.
I love the Boomdaka Snazwagon.
The Boomdaka Snazwagon is such a awesome name.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to our episode over the Orks and their plans to send the galaxy up into never-ending combat. On the next episode, we will be covering the fourth war for Armageddon, and we'll see if the Mega Teleshaka pays off. As we said at the beginning of this episode, if you have any models that you would like to send to us to be featured as our Mini of the Week or be used in our video content, please send them over to us. You can find us on Instagram at Old Days of Lore. You can email us at olddaysoflore@gmail.com for any requests, figure pictures, or questions. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, and in our description on YouTube, you can find a link to our Discord. Thank you for listening to Days of Lore.
Goodbye.
Bye. Just end this episode.